Alrighty, episode 243. Today I am joined by Ben Konchar from Conscious Fitness, based out of South Carolina. We actually met in a bar like 3 or 4 years ago in Oneonta, so small world, right?
Well,
Ben, welcome to Backpacking America. I'm really excited to have you and see you again. It's been a while.
hey, Anthony, it's a pleasure to be here, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, anytime. So tell me about Conscious Fitness, man. It seems like a totally, from what we were talking about on the phone, like you've taken like a new approach to bodybuilding, and I love it. So let me hear it.
So, with the new approach, there's a lot of people doing this right now. There's a lot of fitness trainers, a lot of people lifting, a lot of people making content. And I was like, okay, there's a niche for this. How do I set myself apart?
Hmm.
So I wanted to personalize it the way I wanted to set a new standard, maybe do something that's not being done.
Okay.
And so, honestly, with boxing, I feel like that was kind of a way to broaden my horizons, if you will, and not, like I said on the phone earlier, pigeonhole myself to just one thing or another. I want to be able to wear multiple hats.
Mm. You want to diversify that.
I do.
So I appreciate that because my fitness journey has been anything but static. I actually had to incorporate a lot of calisthenics a couple of months after I started because I almost tore my bicep tendon on a broken machine at Planet Fitness. And
Man.
it wasn't cordoned off as broken. I was using a Smith machine for bench pressing, which is like the worst thing you could use, but it's Planet Fitness. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I pushed up my weight and I felt like a pop in my bicep. And the thing didn't detach, but it was like a low grade tear, but high enough where I couldn't press conventional weights for a long time. So I had to focus on calisthenics.
Mm.
And I had to do that for like 6 to 8 months before I could even work on getting weights up. And then another 6 months before I could even bench my weight again. So I
Jeez.
had to learn like I had to do push-ups, pull-ups, kettlebell, dips. I ended up moving on to doing a bunch of like, you know, calisthenic like basic calisthenic movements on gymnastics rings, learning how to work out my bicep and my entire upper body really just by using calisthenics and, cables. So it was very difficult. And that's why I can appreciate your push for functional fitness. So when you have a guy that comes to you, right, and they never really lifted before, you know, how would you start them out? Like, how do you give them the functional bodybuilding routine? Like, what does it encompass?
Well, that's a great question, man. I prefer people that don't have, or I should say, little to no experience. And, it's awesome to work with someone who knows what they're doing. That's the best way to learn. But there's an old saying, with that, iron sharpens iron. So I
Mm,
feel like we learn off each other, we feed off each other. But with someone who just is starting off, I feel like a lot of it comes down to the brain training as well. And yeah, you can lift iron, you can do this and do that. But if you don't know what you're doing, why are you doing it? So I feel like that's even where the play on words, conscious fitness, comes into play, because we're helping people create more of an understanding of what they're doing in the gym. So, and also it falls down to whatever the person's looking for. So, for example, I'm actually working with a fella right now. He's 23 and he has never lifted weights before.
hmm,
And we had a consultation, we were talking with one another. And he was like, look, man, he's like, I do a lot of mental exercises. He's like, I know I have to do some physicals as well if I'm really trying to better myself. And so what I put him on, and he's a scrawnier guy. Either way, he's starting out. But what he's looking for is to build some strength. And so, with my understanding, I put him on a specific program. And it's pretty general, but it's push pull legs,
hmm.
something you probably heard of before.
Yeah,
But in other words, man, we're rather than having a bicep day or a dang quad day, we're kind of working out multiple muscle groups at once for one full week rather than just, hey, we're doing this today and this tomorrow. It's just a way for his body to get adapted to what's going on. And rather than giving him like a super crazy lift with some wicked movement that not a lot of people would do in general, say, hey, let's start with the basics. Let's get you familiar with the movements. Let's get your muscles conscious of what's happening. Because if you don't have form, first off, you're going to get yourself hurt. So it's form training. So just trying to work the body as the body is already and build off of the foundation that these people have. You know?
that's smart. Yeah, because like you need to know what like you need to form the mind muscle connection.
Mm.
And I find that with a lot of like when I was lifting before at the gym, it was just go through the motion, go through the motion, go through the motion. And it wasn't until after I got hurt that it was like you need to focus on like I learned through the injury. Having the injury helped me become a better athlete. Um, like learn the mind muscle connection, like focus, like learning how to isolate the body part you wanna focus on and really push through it. Like when I'm working my chest, I really focus on squeezing either the upper, middle, or lower part of the chest, not just like doing the exercise, because that's really how you get hurt, man. Like, and it's sometimes too. What I find is like you just got to get hurt to learn it. As messed up as that sounds.
So I got a question for you, actually.
Yeah,
Post injury, how do you feel like your gym game has changed?
I've gotten stronger, but I've also
Right.
gotten leaner. So what it did was it made me a better athlete. And the reason why is because when I first started, I was about 145 pounds, but I was infinitely weaker than I am now. So now I'm like barely 135 pounds, but I could do 15 pull-ups. I can do 15 15 regular dips on gymnastics rings. I can hold myself for up to 45 seconds to a minute on those static holds for your core, leg raises or leg holds, and do that in gymnastics rings. I can hip thrust 315. I can squat 155. Like I can do things that I would not even be able to dream about pre-injury. And even though I was a bigger dude and I looked bigger, I wasn't actually stronger and I was working out too much or too little. So it would be like I'd work 2.5 hours. Like I would do a calisthenics routine and then a weight routine. You know, it would be so much time in the gym and it would just tire me out. I wasn't allowing my body enough time to rest. So I became a better athlete by learning how to maximize my training routine. And that was from talking to people. And that's a big thing that a
Oh yeah.
lot of people don't do in commercial gyms, I've noticed. My gym is a local family-owned chain of gyms, so the feel is a lot different than at a Planet Fitness or an LA Fitness where people don't wanna talk to each other or are afraid. Um, you actually learn how to be a better athlete by talking to people, like, half the I'd say 3/4 of the stuff that I've learned to be a better athlete, I learned by talking to people or having people come up to me when I was new and were like, "Yo, you should try this," and I would just try it, you know? That's how I became a better athlete. That's how the injury influenced me.
Well, you bring up a good point, bro, with the calisthenics. I feel like even talking about like functional fitness, like you mentioned earlier, we want to be able to move our own body weight healthily. So
Yes.
pull up, hanging on a bar, that's all very important. Like you have a lot of people of a lot of different walks of life who can't support their own body weight. And I feel like if you're able to do a pull up, for example, or a couple push ups, or squat your body weight, bench press your body weight, you're so far ahead of the ball, so far ahead of the game. You're only setting yourself up for success and for a healthy life.
That's the thing too, is that like a lot of people have the misconception that, squatting is bad for you, benching is bad for you. Now, it can be debated as to how effective the bench press is to building a healthy chest. It is a widely debated topic. Um, but what I will say is that if you're able to the goal shouldn't be to push 300 something pounds. The goal should be, can I lift my own weight up? Be it through push-ups, through a bench press, through a shoulder press, through a squat. If you're able to do that, absolutely. But the thing is you gotta do it with proper form and, like, I see so many people at the gym, and this is, like, one of the more sadder things that I see. I see a lot of older men try to do what they used to do when they were young men,
Mm.
and after, like, taking years off the gym, like, just hopping right back in, or the guys that are, so fat that they're like bulky fat. So, like, you could tell they've been bodybuilding their whole lives, but they're just so big that they're not even able to move healthily, and their form is so bad because they can't physically extend all the way anymore. There's 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 gotta be, like, a right balance to how you build your body. Because for me, like, historically, I've been a very tiny dude, and do I wanna bulk out and be like short, stocky, ripped Rambo? Absolutely. But I also know that around 45 or 50, well after your metabolism slows down, things convert, muscle converts to fat faster than it does when you're in your 20s.
Indeed.
So
Indeed,
that's
you know,
something. No, go ahead.
it's interesting, bro. You know, seeing a lot of younger men in the gym, especially in the world we live in, the modern world,
Mm,
TikTok, Instagram. You see a lot of dudes shooting up steroids at a young age, and it's it seems glorious. I'll say air quotes glorious. You know, ego lifting. They're building
mhm.
this image. They have the following. They're doing very well for themselves, but it's going to be so short lived because the things that they're putting their bodies through, it's not sustainable.
Oh my
So
God, yeah.
40 years old, 50 years old, if, God forbid, if they make it, I should say, God willing, they make it, their bodies probably won't be in the best health, all these damn trends and whatever, what have yous, bro. A lot of these young guys are shooting up juice for what? I
So
ask
what
myself.
what type of what are some of the things that you've noticed that men are putting into their bodies that would make them, less likely to survive into their 40s or 50s?
Well, there's a lot of, I hate to use the word trendy. There's a lot of trendy steroid use happening right now that I'm seeing from in the fitness world. So the
Trend.
big one. Yeah, Trent is a huge one. You got the Trent twins. And don't get me wrong, bro. These guys are pushing weight and they are very successful at what they do and they're very strong and they look great, but it's at what cost?
Yeah.
Like even Ronnie Coleman, for example, one of the best bodybuilders of all time. He has I think he's standing at 5'8", 5'9", but he was once upon a time squatting well over 800 pounds, pushing massive weight, and he paralyzed himself, but he was pushing all this weight from shooting up all these damn anabolic steroids, Anavar, Tren. I don't know all the specific words, all the specific names, but there's even older guys I'll have talks with in the gym. They're like once they hit 50, their doctor will prescribe them testosterone, which I feel like is we'll say appropriate once you're getting up into that age of you're an older man now and your body's not functioning properly. I see the benefits of doctor prescribed testosterone. But if you're doing that just to shoot it in your ass in the locker room, bro, just to look good in a damn camera and a mirror, I feel like, you should make some adjustments.
I agree. I mean, you're setting yourself up for infertility, for changes in your genitals. Not kidding, your balls will shrink. Just being honest. It's not a joke. You'll be angrier. It'll affect your relationships. And I've also noticed people drink drinking a lot of protein shakes, a lot of pre-workout, a lot of energy drinks. And what I found, and this actually shocked me. So I had a discussion with one of my friends, and he was like, dude, protein's just food. You're better off just like, I mean, you could drink shakes, but like, you should be trying to get as much of your protein through food as possible. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I kind of feel like shit, just drinking protein shakes anyway, and I'm still not meeting my like daily protein intake of 135 grams. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to eat my weight in protein. And I felt better. I felt more energized. I felt fuller and I felt cleaner. And why did I feel cleaner? Because there's sucralose in most of these products. If you look at
Hmm.
the back of any, do you know what sucralose is?
I don't.
So
It sounds
sucralose is an artificial sweetener, and it is one of the leading causes of stomach problems, cancers, and diabetes in the United States because so much of our processed foods are laden with it. If you look on the back of your protein shake, I guarantee you, what protein do you use?
honestly, I don't even use protein these days because I'm on the Whole Foods protein.
Oh, good.
Well, but once upon a time, bro, like I was using like in my kitchen, I have something called First Form. Let me take
Okay.
a look at
Yeah, yeah, let's see it. Let's hear what you
it.
find about it. Because like my listeners hear about it all the time. Sucralose is it causes what it does is it kills a lot of good bacteria in your gut, and that breeds bad bacteria. So it causes a lot of stomach problems, IBS, protein shits. That's the major cause of the protein shits, is all the sucralose in it. Um,
And it's in this First Form, bro.
it's one of the first ingredients, right?
It is. It's in the ingredient list.
How many spaces away? Is it like the fifth one, the third one?
It is actually it's on the last line of ingredients. You
Last line of
know,
ingredients.
got
So
your whey
that's
protein bits and what have you, but it's in the last line. And I'm honestly hearing you say this, bro. It's never something that I have looked into myself, so I'm kind of surprised to see it here.
so you when you were taking that, you felt more bloated, you felt gassy, you felt protein shitty.
Oh, dude, protein would wreck my stomach.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Even a small amount. You see, when it's in the last line, that means it's the smallest ingredient out of the entire thing. But that just shows how dangerous just such a small amount is.
Hmm. I never.
Now imagine all the people that are drinking Isopure, the protein, the pre-workout, and they're eating the snacks. The some people eat Rice Krispie treats before they work out. It's all sucralose. They're having so much sucralose, it's killing their gut bacteria, and that kills your energy, which will actually end up killing your lift. And you're opening yourself up to esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, and intestinal cancer because you're ingesting large quantities of sucralose.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insanely messed up, which is why it's so important to like, why you're sharing that with your people to eat your protein because you think of all the like leafy greens you're missing out. Now I know leafy greens aren't high in protein, but when you eat a full meal, you're eating leafy greens, you're eating an animal protein, you're eating even plant-based proteins with lima beans and beans and chickpeas. You know, you're getting like a much fuller chemical, not chemical, but I guess like nutritional compound of foods to drive your lift forward.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, man, it's really something that people need to consider because, like, you look at any gym when they sell that stuff behind the counter, that's like how CVS used to sell cigarettes. It's like you're in CVS to get medicine and all this other stuff, and then at the checkout counter, there's like a wall of cigarettes and like ghouls and shit. Back when they used to sell that stuff. It's, like, counterproductive, and I think a lot of people it's an important conversation to have because a lot of people, um, don't understand the dangers of artificial sweeteners in their foods.
No, it's true, bro. I actually have a gym colleague of mine. Who became a close friend at this point. But we met in the gym, and this guy is an animal. He is
Mm.
a behemoth, and he's just so good at what he does in the gym. And it's honestly something. He's someone that I find a lot of, let's say, motivation from working out with, or just knowing him in general, keeping him in
Mm,
the circle. He motivates me. That's how good of a gym goer he is. How good of a lifter he is. But we had a conversation, man. This guy, as big as he is one of the cleanest eaters that I know.
really?
Yeah, man, we were having this conversation before, myself, another one of our colleagues, and he was talking about how eating like an animal in the wild is better for your body. And not to get into like damn Liver King or any of that shit. Yeah,
They
yo,
found it out that he's actually a fraud.
man, that was sad.
I
I
know.
tried to, man, that broke my heart.
A
Like,
lot of these people like that. I don't wanna cut you off, but it's just a lot of these people are very gotta look into him, man, because some of the claims they make, if it's too good to be true, man, that's what I end up finding out.
I mean, Liver King is in great shape though. I mean, it's
He
just
is.
unfortunate he took a quick shortcut, but he does put in the work. We'll say he does. I'm sure he lives a healthy lifestyle, but why lie? Why sell that facade and make a
Yeah,
business?
because now you're doing a disservice to the whole experiment, you know?
Yeah, man, I see what does he call himself? Liver King 2.0, and
Oh,
he's being more honest with his audience. I still follow him on Instagram. I think he seems like a cool dude. I would love to work out with him. But
that's
regardless,
cool.
yeah, bro, it was a foundation built on deceit,
Hmm.
and I just can't get down with that.
At least
But
he's
going on,
learning. But go ahead, yeah, what were you saying?
yeah, so my guy Jared is his name.
Hmm,
He was talking about this. Don't hold me to this. I haven't done my research, so I'm speaking. Take it with a grain of salt. He was talking about this pack of lions in Africa. I think it was Zimbabwe,
hmm.
but they were isolated and they lived on like some island, and their only food source was water buffalo. So they had to like wait till the tide went down or something. And like I said, I'm speaking so loosely right now, but these lions were so much bigger than any other pride of lions in Africa, and these guys were just eating strictly water buffalo and high protein foods from animals that were working all day. So water buffalo are very strong. They have I honestly can't speak too much on water buffalo. I just know they're massive animals with who knows how much protein inside of them. But these lions were just feeding off of them and just becoming massive, and they were super muscular and such a threat, you know. And so we were just talking about how we could eat like wild lions. And granted, you know, we have grocery stores. We're not hunting and gathering. And unfortunately, the good foods in a grocery store, they're not cheap. You know, you gotta get your money up a little bit if you want to eat more like that, or go to a nice butcher shop or farm local food. But regardless, man, I noticed firsthand once I started eating more fish and bison meat, for example,
Oh,
and
bison's great.
dude, steak and chicken. Like you said, bro, I felt healthier. I felt like I had more mass. My muscles looked better. My sleep was better. My mind was clearer. And, you know, I love Chick-fil-A. I'll go to Chick-fil-A and eat for like 3 people in one sitting. And I always, yeah, dude, I feel like dog shit afterwards. But
Yeah,
when I start eating more intentionally, it just has so many more benefits for the gym. And like, it's interesting to learn about too, because I love eating food. It's such a intentional thing. I love eating food. I love cooking food. Culturally, you know, I come from a family of Italians. You know how it's culture, man. So the fact that I can still throw down in the kitchen, still lift heavy and enjoy what I'm doing, but also knowing that I'm putting goodness into my body, it's just this big like synergistic circle. Like everything is everybody's winning.
exactly. Like, I can't tell you, like, so my family, we made a decision a while ago that we'd rather spend money on food, good food, and make sacrifices elsewhere um, for that good food financially. So, if it means not buying a nice pair of shoes every now and then, or, giving up on the amount of um, vacations we take, or, how many times a week we go out, to eat. If it means giving up some of those creature comforts or some of those more luxury things for good food, we'd much rather do that because what you're saving, this is what I always tell people too. What you're saving in the grocery store on food by buying Wonder Bread, which is laden with enriched flour and sucralose. It's horrible for you. It is a cancer causing agent. Um, by buying processed beef, that's like 80% or 70% instead of 95%. Um, by buying freezer chicken and freezer vegetables. You know, what you're saving at the grocery store, you will pay back in medical bills. You will
Mm,
pay it back in insulin. You will pay it back in cancer treatments. You will pay it back in heart medication. You will pay it back in copays and doctor's visits. You will pay it back in physical therapy. You're going to pay it back in liposuction. It's not worth it. Like even diet sodas, man. Like kidney stones. You're going to have kidney problems for that. You know, it's not it's really just it's worth it to just maybe not go out to the bar one weekend, or maybe, buy cheaper clothes, or maybe not having a Spotify subscription. Because I'll tell you what, I went to Aldi's, even like a lot of places, like organic food is a little cheaper now. Like I went to Aldi's, I got a pound of carrots, a pound of celery, a pound of spinach, a pound of apples, and I think that's it for about 10 bucks. That's
nice.
about that's about 4 or 5 pounds of food for $10, and it's good food, it's clean food, it's not full of preservatives, and it's I felt good because I bought it for my juicer. I'm like, "Wow, I'm actually, ingesting vegetables." Even what I found too, grass-fed beef, it's only $1 extra as opposed to regular ground beef. So
Hmm.
instead of like $7, I'm paying 8. I'd rather pay $8 for grass-fed beef and just feel good, because it's lighter. Because people with stomach problems, beef is a inflammatory product. But when it's grass-fed, it's much less inflammatory. So it feels so much better for you. Like if you haven't tried grass-fed beef, definitely try it out. Um, so I'd much rather just take the sacrifice of like a little more expense than just paying it all back in medical bills in my 50s, 60s, and 70s.
It's definitely worthwhile, man. That
It
grass fed,
definitely
that
is.
I hate to say the word organic, you know, because there's a lot of stigma with the word organic, you know, in the hipster
Mm.
culture, whatever you want to call it. But grass fed, that's the way to go. Farm raised. And in a perfect world, bro, we were growing our own food thousands of years ago. We were very healthy, bro. That's why you see Neanderthals with obviously Neanderthals weren't, you know, building civilization, but those that were, when they were raising cows and sheep and goats and farming their own crops, they were very healthy people. Native Americans, for example, you don't hear
Mm.
about them having a,
Well,
it's
back then you didn't have it, but now they're really screwed.
the Native Americans.
Oh yeah, they have high rates of alcoholism, suicide, drug addiction.
Yeah.
It's the conditions of the reservation are horrible. There's obesity rates up there too.
I'll tell you what, man. So kind of, I'll say shifting gears a bit, bro. So being down south, I've been down here about 2 years now in upstate New York. It's Iroquois territory, very beautiful.
Mm.
You had tribes and all the native land out there, but you get down south and you have like the Cherokees and the Seminoles. I know there's plenty more tribes down here, but I spent some time out in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I was driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is just a side story, but I was at an overlook, and it's Cherokee land, and those mountains are absolutely breathtaking. And Oneonta and the surrounding area have some beautiful mountains as well, the Catskills and the Adirondacks, all beautiful. But these Blue Ridge Mountains are so breathtaking, and they're some of the highest peaks on the East Coast. One of
Wow.
these look in particular had etched into this little barrier, I guess you'll call it, had etched in stolen land, stolen people, tell the truth. Man, and I remember looking at that and being like, holy shit, it made me really open my eyes. And, there were cultures of people just thriving in those hills. And, US history comes around, Andrew Jackson and his Trail of Tears and all the Native American, I guess you can call them skirmishes beforehand. Those people were forced out of their homes. But
Yeah.
regardless, dude, I don't know what made me bring that up.
Well, it
Oh
was
yeah, just
the Native Americans, losing that fitness that they had in that thriving society. I mean, because now
yes.
they're drug rate of drug addiction, obesity, they're westernized because they're put in reservations and they were stripped of their ancestral habits of hunting, gathering, or creating, more settled societies where they farmed real natural food. Because
In a,
if you look at corn production, a corn stalk in 1950, for example, was just like quarter of the size of what corn is now. The corn we have today is not real corn. Like the
yeah,
big cobs, like they were at least like half that size, like they don't grow that big.
that's a whole other conversation, man. You want to get into like the GMOs, especially how that relates to the body. I know the big one I've been reading about in recent time have been the seed oils,
Oh, those are horrible.
man. And so they say that seed oils were once used for like machinery to lubricate machines to make sure they are running properly. All these synthol oils, and now that's something we're ingesting. I say we in air quotes in general. The U.S. We have these high obesity rates and everything else, but a lot of that falls down to the seed oil consumption.
Mm. Absolutely. And then, like so when you have, clients consulting you, right? Like what do you tell them when it comes to diet? Like do you have like a diet plan you ascribe to them or do you just kind of like let them freeball it?
Well, I don't want to speak. How do I say this? So I tell my clients straight up. I say, hey, look, I'm not a nutritionist. I don't
Mm,
have a new nutrition degree on the wall. I don't have a certification. I just know what works for me and what I'm mindful of when I take care of myself in here.
mm,
So a big thing, like we've talked about, is that whole food protein. So I'll tell my people, hey, maybe don't go to McDonald's as often.
mm,
It's because the part is eliminating that completely. Because then that temptation will be then they'll be like, oh well, I can eat fast food today, and maybe I can make a little. I can eat a little Dunkin' Donuts tomorrow morning. It's okay. It's just a donut. Then you find that kind of compounds over time. Don't get me wrong. I love sweets. I love food that I should indulge in all the time. But
me too.
man, I'm so much more mindful of what I'm putting in and when I'm putting it in. So, for example, We just got a new Chipotle in town. Man, I was hitting that thing 4 days a week at first. Then I realized, man, I feel like I had a gut rot all the time. Oh, I
Mm.
like once I started cooking more and finding out different ways to fuel my body. Because at the end of the day, dude, it's all fuel, and so you can't run a race car on unleaded gas. You need that premium. So how are we going to expect to run efficient bodies if we're putting in junk all the time? So that's just I just have my people be more mindful of what they're eating and when they're eating it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm not a personal trainer at all, but that's what I've been pushing on this podcast is being mindful of it. Like I had Taco Bell, I think like 4 times this month, and like that's from like barely eating fast food for the last like 3, 4 years. Actually more like 2 or 3. But it's really like it does add up. It's like, okay, like if like there was a time where it was like, yo, I want to get Taco Bell. And I'm like, man, I really shouldn't get Taco Bell. And I was at one of my clients' offices and one of the women there was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go get food. Does anyone want anything?" I'm like, "Yo, can we get sushi?" It's like sushi is so good. You get a couple of rolls, man. You eat that. It's clean. It's good. It fills you. High in protein, bro. You know, get a little those sweet potato rolls too. That'll give you some substance. Like that's just like not that it's just as good as taco. Taco Bell's like different, but it's choosing like, all right, I had Taco Bell 4 times this month. I can't eat it again because that's just gonna get crazy. Like that's a lot of processed food. It's
For,
definitely a mindfulness game.
I'll tell you what, bro. One of my gym guys told me that Taco Bell, out of any fast food chain, has the most. How do you say this? Out of all the choices, they have the most protein in their food. You know, little taco wrap here. I can't think of any like specific things off the top of my head,
The
but compared to,
cheesy, the cheesy beef burrito,
hey,
the
man, I
grilled
remember that.
cheese burrito.
I got it, man. You want me to get some Taco Bell right now, bro? I'll tell you what.
They
But
do have a
regardless,
lot of
bro,
protein.
they got really, we'll say, air quotes, good food compared to like a McDonald's or Wendy's or anything like that. So Taco Bell is
100%.
like is the underdog.
It is the
Oh,
underdog. It's just you got to be careful what you get because if you have a
I,
set like for me, I'll get the grilled cheese burrito. But I learned a hack actually, when you're ingesting meat in general. Um, a friend of mine that I work with, he told me that when I eat steak or any red meat, pair it with yogurt because the probiotics in yogurt will help break down and digest the red meat faster. So that way it's not just sitting in your gut. And I'm like, man, you are full of shit. So naturally, I put his theory to the test. I ate 2 cups of yogurt. And then I was like, damn, like he wasn't wrong. I actually feel great.
hmm.
So like even like supplements, bro. Like how you would take like let's take a probiotic supplement, and I'm like, I could just eat yogurt. Like a lot of things that we take supplements for, you could just eat in food.
Man, gut health is very important.
Underrated realm of health. Everyone's concerned about their heart, their brain, their lungs. Everyone forgets that all health stems from the gut.
For
That
real,
is
what do you
where.
put?
What'd you say?
I said, it's for real. What do you put into your body? You know, that's gonna affect you everywhere else.
It's gonna affect like even like when you were lifting. Like I don't know if you feel this way, but like when I was lifting and I ate like shit or I ate like oh my god. Once I ate chicken tenders and french fries before I went to the gym. When I tell you that I had to use all the force in my body to prevent myself from shitting my pants when I was squatting, like unreal. Like just it's so bad for you what you put in. And like no wonder all these guys are shitting their pants when they're lifting because it's like a lot of guys eat like shit. You know,
Man,
they focus on dirty bulking. It's horrible.
you see the videos of the female powerlifters deadlifting, they're like pissing themselves.
No.
Man, I
What?
don't know. I don't know who thought this was a good idea to post, but I've seen multiple chicks on Instagram. They'll do a heavy deadlift, and you'll just see him start peeing like on the floor, like on the platform they're lifting from. Like I get it, lift heavy, cool, feel glorious, but like, yo,
Pissing yourself?
dude, like forcefully.
Oh man, they just doing it for the clout too. That's sad.
Yeah, it's something else, man. I don't get it.
That's another thing I want to touch on too. Like, I don't know if you've seen this, like working out in the gym, but like I've seen like so much like trendy lifting, and I've seen so many young women focusing on building a butt that they work out like legs, only legs, like 3 times a week, and then sacrifice everything else in the process. And what I try to tell all of them is that you're gonna build a bigger butt just by working everything else out and letting your glutes rest and your thighs rest for like a day or two. Like if you're overworking your muscle, so you're not gonna get, the fatty that you want, like you're gonna get that through working out everything else in your body.
That's true, man.
It's just
And
sad, like, to see that that's like, they're trying to meet, and this has been going on with women forever where they felt like they needed to meet a beauty standard. But it's really sad to see that, another generation has been, poisoned with this whole, "I need a bubble butt to be attractive," you know?
man, I feel that. And unfortunately, in the fitness world, that body dysmorphia is a very real thing. And you'll
Mm.
see people in the greatest shape who might think the most little of themselves.
I
And so
suffer
it's,
with it.
yeah, dude, it's real. Like I have one of my friends, dude, he's just a giant, big dude, in incredible shape. And he's like, well, I could be bigger. And it's like, yeah, dude, of course, you could always be bigger, but like, never undermine yourself.
Mm.
You know, it's a very important thing is, although I think it was Kobe Bryant, love Kobe, man. One of the
Rip.
greatest.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, man, for real. But he was talking about how he was always chasing perfection, and that's what made him great because he knew he would never attain it, but he was still chasing perfection when no one else was.
Mm.
And so a lot of us get caught up in the gym trying to be perfect, and it can spiral the mentals.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I feel like now I'm a short dude, but I still think I'm that skinny ass kid from like 2 or 3 years ago that was walking into Red Shed. And
Hey,
I'm like, my boys are like, "You're insane. You're insane." I'm not like a hulking behemoth, but like I have like a chest and a back and like I fit in clothes. Like a small is not like big on me, Like I actually almost I need a, like a medium really to be comfortable and like not, obscene. Um, but and it's like I know I can be bigger, but it's like I'm not appreciating how far I've came and like this is the
mm,
best I'm gonna look. And not the best, but it's like, as you age, your body changes. And
big time.
this is our prime in our 20s. And what I've noticed is when you look at like what was I gonna say? I had like a great point. Body dysmorphia, enjoying the ride, your body looks great. I lost the point. Damn it. It'll come back to
Oh,
me.
I'm back.
But yeah, it's just like it's just sad, man. You come so far and you're not appreciating it. It's like, man, we look at us.
Have you heard of a bodybuilder by the name of C-Bum?
I've heard of him, yeah.
I think let me just fact check this real quick before I say some bogus name. Chris Bumstead. Pretty sure it's Chris Bumstead.
Chris
Goes by,
Bumstead.
but this guy, yeah, a Canadian bodybuilder, Chris Bumstead. He is now, if I'm correct, a four-time Olympia winner, and this
Wow.
guy is the best in his field currently. And it's also interesting. Without spiraling out with this one, I should say, going too far astray with it. It's interesting to see how much bodybuilding has changed since like the Arnold era or what they call the golden era in like the 70s with all those guys to see how much the aesthetics have changed and what these judges are looking for and like just naturally how people have evolved. I think it's pretty interesting.
What have
But the
you what
reason
have you seen in your analysis? Like what changed?
so I take a lot of my inspiration from Arnold.
Mm,
You know, I would compare Arnold to Kobe Bryant, one
yes.
of the one of the greatest in his field. We still talk about him to this day. And
Arnold
that guy,
Split.
the Arnold Split, dude, that's a great program.
That's my program. I do that all the time. That's my go-to for how I got stronger. But continue.
So Arnold is a well of knowledge. This guy, he had it figured out. He had the mindset figured out. He was hungry, and I'm sure he dealt with his own image issues, but that's also what motivated him to be the best. So just looking at his physique, the physiques have changed so much. So Arnold had the big chest and the big arms, the flat stomach, and he looked great, man. Arnold is an inspiration. Then fast forward to 2023, you got guys who still have the big chest and the big arms, but you're seeing a lot of emphasis on like lat muscles, or these guys have they look like wings just coming out of the front. And when they
Dorito
do their,
back.
yeah, man, they got those Dorito chips. And so the bodies have changed. Just, I'll say the intentions have changed so much.
Mm.
But so Chris Bumstead is one of the best in his field, if not the best currently. And there's incredible competitors currently. But where the hell did I hear this? I either heard him say it or my friend and I were talking about this. But Chris or C-Bum would cry at night, like during his prep to get ready to be on stage. He would like cry and feel like he wasn't good enough. And this guy had the most shredded physique in current time.
Wow.
And so it's crazy to think, even on that scale, on that level, these guys who we look up to and take inspiration from are still dealing with the same things that we are.
Mm.
But dude,
You know,
body wise, what's that?
no, it's just I was gonna agree with you. It's just I was agreeing with your point. I'm sorry. Let it continue.
Body wise, it's just interesting, like I said, bro, to see how much they've changed. So people, I feel like these days look more like, the word that's coming to mind right now is like machines. So they just look like just machines. You look at the guys, the lifters of olden times. These guys, they just had these big bulky muscles, and they're all cut up and all that. But it's like there's so much more emphasis on like the fine crafting of certain muscles now, which I find to be super interesting. Like really making sure each muscle is popping out and you can see nothing but that. Like, have you heard of Joe Lindler or Joe Stetics?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Oh, he passed away, right?
Man, he passed away
Rest
two
in
weeks ago.
peace. Yeah, less
That
than I
was
think.
sad.
We're losing
This
a lot
guy.
of great people.
What was that?
We're losing a lot of great people.
Unfortunately, bro. Joe Stetics, man, that guy was famous for not only his bodybuilding, but he had this like alien chest. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. His chest is crazy.
Bro. And to this day, man, I've actually taken a lot of his lifts and incorporated them into my own training. And when I'm working with a client who I feel like is kind of picking up things quickly, I'll introduce them to more intermediate lifts or exercises, and I'll throw in a couple Joe Static lifts. I'll be like, hey, you should really try this out. So
I
that
might have
guy,
to might have to check out some of his lifts because I want my chest to pop out more. Um,
oh, his cable work is what I really took a lot from. This
mm.
guy used a cable a million different ways, and there's a reason his chest looked the way it did. Unfortunately, that guy is just so good at what he does.
You know what I
Talk
find
about
interesting? You made a comment and you said that people look more like machines than men. And I can't tell you, you know, I I do a lot of things for work and for money. And a lot of the things I've noticed is alienation of people and our reliance on social media and machines and technology to get things done and to replace social interaction. We are, I
hmm,
feel, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you disagree, but I feel that we're trying to become the machine that we rely on so much that now we're subconsciously altering our bodies to be these monstrous beings, these things that will eventually become unsustainable.
that is so interesting.
Like, what do you think about that? Because I mean, if you think about it, like our need for constant validation, approval, to be unending, even in our work, like how common is it now for the grind set culture? People work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, working 12 to 14 hours a day. I mean, how's this affecting us? Is that a result of us, you know, becoming less human over time?
I feel like it definitely is. I think a lot of the moral fabric has changed. A lot
Mm.
of our morals have changed, and so the more modernized we become, I feel like a lot of our those underlying morals, traditional values, virtues, I feel like those are being less emphasized. And like you said, that grind culture, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So it's produce, 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 but that's what separates us from machines is we're going to get burnt out.
I
A
think that's
machine,
also no, keep going. I'm sorry. You're on a roll.
oh, good, man. I mean, I feel like we can only produce to a certain extent, which separates us from a machine that is built to produce and not stop and continue producing. But what were you about to say? Something like you had something.
I was gonna say like there's no work-life balance, and I feel like
Mm,
there's you know, with young men, and I see this a lot in my gym. I don't know if you could say the same, but the rate of loneliness, depression, suicidal ideation is very real, and it became very apparent to me when I graduated college and I stopped smoking and I went to the gym. So I had a sober mind with new people and I'm sitting around I'm working out at the gym and I'm talking to these guys and they're all lifting just so they don't kill themselves. And these are fit, good-looking people that are broken individuals. So talk about, the fabric of society unwinding. We have a whole generation of men. I think like 60% of men have reported being lonely, not in a romantic relationship. And, in 1990, like just 30 years ago, it was common to have a big group of guy friends. And now it's like, 50, like it was like 40% of all men had 10 or more friends. And now, in 2023, 15% of men have 10 or more friends in our age range, in the 20s. So
yeah.
we're becoming increasingly lonely, increasingly isolated. And I think it's now taking physical manifestation in just how we're working out and how we're interacting with each other. I mean, think of all the time it takes, right, to craft every individual muscle in the
Mm,
body. It takes like 2 hours. My lifts take about 2 hours. I hit every muscle. And I think that might have to do with just trying to like show love to ourselves, I guess, in a
mm.
way.
And I think that radiates to people as well, bro. Especially younger men, and we'll say the demographic that you just mentioned, bro.
Mm.
Are a lot of lonely, single, upset, sad men, and you see all the trendy things these days. The stoicism. Stoicism is great. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But a
I
lot of
don't think
people,
so either.
yeah, bro. I mean, it's good to not allow your emotions to control you. But I see a lot of people, they try to numb themselves from everything, and I think a
Mhm.
lot of people be sad too. And unfortunately, social media has warped everybody's brain. At least I say everybody. I think that applies to a lot of people. Social media. A lot of people use social media. A lot of people see, and especially young men and women. But with young men, I have a friend and I. We talk about this. I have a friend that we talk about this together, and you see all these guys on Instagram, on yachts, you know, with all this money and all these supercars and all the dime piece girls and all that, and young men who aren't in a position of who have barely started living yet, they see this and I'm like, man, that's not me where I'm at currently, and I hate that, and I'm gonna take that out on myself. But it's unhealthy. So I feel like young men have a choice, and it's either let that make them or let that break them. And so a lot of people just kind of surrender to the fact that they don't give themselves a chance to be successful. And
Yeah.
while I've been a young, lonely, single man myself, and in that time of I'm 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 hesitating from saying loneliness. Something that I learned in my solitude is that there's a big difference between being lonely and being in solitude. If I'm lonely, that
Mhm.
means I have no control. But if I'm in my solitude, that's a conscious choice I'm making. As a hermit goes into a cave and tries to learn the secrets of the universe, when we go into our solitude, we take a little time to self isolate without isolating ourselves completely, but we get to understand ourselves a little bit. And okay, how does my mind operate? How does my mind affect reality around me? Or how do my thoughts become real life projections? And I feel like a lot of people don't do that, and they see all these things on their phone screens and like, man, like that'll never be me. That'll never be me. And it's like, well, that damn well could be you. Why don't you try to why don't you try it out? Why don't you see if that works for you? Why don't you try to start a business or go talk to that girl that you think won't give you a shot? Because 9 times out of 10, she's just as sad and lonely as he is, but she just happens to look a little prettier. And so a lot of these
Yeah.
dudes, yeah, man, they don't give themselves a chance. Give yourself a chance to be successful, and we'll be surprised of what will happen.
Like, I always tell people, and I find this very, my parents met in a gym. Okay. So
Not
this was in the 80s. And I'm always looking for healthy places to meet people. I will walk up to a girl in the gym and just like talk and spit riz, and we're either going to be friends, nothing will happen, or we'll go on a date and it'll either work or it won't. I've been on a couple of dates from people from the gym and I made a lot of friends. So, it doesn't hurt to go up to someone. Like, you don't have to like deadpan stare past a girl in the gym. And you shouldn't, because where are you going to meet women? I mean, really, like, you go to work. If there's no girls at your job that you want to talk to and you're barely going out as it is, the only place you go consistently is the gym or the supermarket. Those are your two places to meet women. So you're denying yourself possibly finding a partner by limiting yourself. And this is going back to the social media thing where, girls used to complain about guys talking to them at the gym. And now guys are like, "Oh, well, now I can't talk to a girl at the gym." It's like, "No, you can absolutely talk to a girl at the gym. Just don't walk up to someone. It's common gym sense. Like, do what you would do with a guy. Wait for someone to finish a set and be like, "Yo, I fucked with that lift," or "I like your shoes," or "I think your hair is nice." I don't know. Or just be like, "Yo, you look like the type to listen to country music." I don't fucking know. Do whatever. I just say random shit, and if it works, it works. Um, it's called
by that
making
time.
friends.
What was that?
It's just called making friends. Like, just talk to people and, don't let a preconceived notion from an app on your phone tell you it's not morally correct to walk up to someone and say hello. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree, man. And that's an important thing that you bring up, bro. People that you meet in the gym, they're there for a reason. They could be selfish in a way, but deep down, a selfish person or an unselfish person in the gym is just there to better themselves. And
Yeah.
so, super important to find like a potential girlfriend or potential boyfriend in the gym. You're like, man, I met my girlfriend at the gym, and if I never started personal training, I probably wouldn't have met her, dude. And I'm very happy with this girl, and she has good morals and good values and virtue. And that's not something I'm going to find at the bar. You know,
No. No, you will not.
you
You
you give, bro.
What'd you say?
I said you get what you give. So if you're intentionally moving in goodness, if you have pure intentions, you're going to attract pure pure things, pure experiences, goodness. It's going to come back to you.
Fuck yeah, it will. I mean, and you know what? This even goes for friends too. I met some of like my friend groups, the friend group I built from the gym. They are so nice. They are so cool. Everyone's goal driven. They want to succeed in life. Like, I met some really good people at the gym and I got to do new things with them. I went camping with them. We all are on the build your own business wave, the entrepreneur wave, the personal development wave, like completely very healthy people. And
Mm,
you make really good quality friendships because you're all doing the same thing together. That becomes a community. My gym is my community now. It's part of my community. I'm not
bro,
getting community from, the coffee shop, you know?
I hear that. You know, I couldn't agree with you more, bro, on the community, the communal life in the gym. Because if that's like, I'll speak personally here. I spend basically every day in the gym, whether I'm working out, teaching a class, working with a client. I spend so much time in the gym; it has become a second home for me. And I'm fortunate enough to have a really good community inside the gym. And I work with a really good community of people who have been, for some grace of God, bro, have put me in a leadership role, and I'm grateful for that. Being in that position, I make my rounds. I'll say hello to everybody, and I think it's also very important to the people you see in the gym every day. Just get to know their name, because chances are that big scary dude that you see who looks like a dickhead, probably a nice guy. He just looks scary because he's got huge muscles.
9 times out of 10, they're nice people.
Yeah, bro, and they usually have the most to share with you. And so I'll have people come up to me and they'll be like, "Oh, you're so nice. You talk to everybody." I'm like, "Dude, it's not about that. It's I spend all my time in here. I want to make sure when I'm in here, it's good. The morale is good. Everyone is good and enjoying themselves. There's no bad blood. I don't have that in my personal life. Why would I want that in the gym where I spend 75% of my time?
Yeah, you don't want no gym beef. You don't want no gym beef. And,
Hell
like,
no.
it's what it teaches you too is that and I've learned this, I've seen a lot of people in the last year or so that I knew pass away or get sick or just, exit my life for other reasons. And it really teaches you to value like who you have and the real value in not having active conflict with someone and just
Mm.
living like, all right, this person pissed me off. We had our little beef, not beef, but we had our little separation. We're now cool. We're learning how to give but not forget. And it's really like that art of community and building community that was lost during COVID or, you know, even for like younger kids. Like when I was in college, I was like, fuck you. I'll go join another community if I'm pissed off at you,
Yeah.
because that's the wave I was on when I was in college. I was like, all right, the people in the croquet club don't like me. I'm going to go hang out with the music club and make new friends. Fuck you. But when you graduate, and you have a workplace and one family and one gym, you're kind of like, I can't just burn a bridge, get out, and it doesn't matter. It's like you burn a bridge, and it's going to be seen miles away. So you learn quickly. And I think that's really good for the kids that stay local in their communities in those developmental years of 18 to 21, because they learn that sooner. I learned it quick, but at 22, 23 years old, like, hey, listen, what you say matters. People will remember it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it definitely matters, especially now that, I'm in the business world and I'm sure you know this too. It's like, you definitely don't want to burn a bridge because, oh, how could this impact my business? I mean, you know,
Bro, it's so
like,
surprising how networking works, bro. And one person you meet on a whim is some person that is like such a good part of a movie you make 3 months down the line and they play such a significant role. Like I feel like you should always do good by the people you meet. And even if they come at you with some sort of negativity, we'll call it, doesn't mean you got to lower your vibration for them. Not to sound like a damn crystal girl or anything, but I
ah,
feel like he's a real thing, dude. And there's an old saying, all a man has is his word. So if that word is true and intentional, then that's going to have such good impacts on that man's life. And bro, you brought up something earlier about 2 minutes ago. You were talking about conflict, and that raised something in my mind that I wanted to talk with you about.
mm,
So conflict against others, never good. We don't exist in warrior culture anymore. We don't have to go pillage and loot villages just so we can expand our families. Like we're a couple of hundreds of years past that. But with that being said, conflict, I feel like, is a very necessary catalyst for growth. No matter
mm,
what field you're in, you must have conflict, inner conflict. Now, say conflict within yourself in terms of going to the gym, for example, bro. I feel like because as men, we don't have to suit up in armor and go to war and fight for our families and, go do all that and raid places. I feel like, in 2023, just going to sit at home and sometimes feel restless. It's built into our genetic code. Warriors, we're men. So I feel like going to the gym is a good way to give yourself that conflict, that fighting, that going to battle. And I feel like I said earlier, but that conflict is necessary for growth. No
couldn't
conflict, no growth.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with that. No
Man,
conflict, no growth, and like the war aspect of it, like I see memes about it on TikTok sometimes where it's like my biological clock for dying in a conflict in Europe is ticking. And it's true. I mean, like sometimes I'm like, damn, like when I'm really in my feralness, I'm just like, yo, like I need to get drafted to fight the Chinese right now. And then I'm like, oh, but that would require dying. And But it's like you're right. It is built into our nature. So we have to find other ways to get it out, which I feel like also may contribute to the depressiveness, the suicidality of our generations of men, um, where it's like there's a lack of purpose. I think what it is there's a lack of our gender roles purpose in this new world. There's
Mm,
a where women have more control now, and they've been fighting for control for centuries. And I'm not saying that that should be denied for women. I don't think, back to the kitchen is a great, option here. That's not really fixing the problem. Because then you have that other set of conditions where now women are in our position that we're feeling now, where they're sad and depressed and lonely and killing themselves, which they were at higher rates in the 50s and backwards. But I think that not eliminating, I think reversing, like, reverse discrimination, reversing oppression is not the way to go. There has to be a way to lift both of our genders up together, because creating a system where one is on top of the other is not gonna help society move forward at all.
I agree, bro.
There's it's I feel that I don't know what the solution is, but
Mm.
it's a tough situation we're in.
It is, man. And, I talk with my girlfriend about this. I talk with my friends about this. And unfortunately, bro, you know how it is, especially in the fields that you're in. People and the opinions that they have, that it's like people go on witch hunts, cancel culture. This
Mhm.
guy thinks differently than me. I have to burn him at the stake. And I don't think that's healthy at all. But
It's not at all. It's really deprecating, and it's putting it hurts the person doing it. It hurts the
mm,
person doing it, and it's a symbolization of lack of control and lack of self-esteem in your life when you embody that cancel culture.
yeah, bro. The reason I bring this up is I feel like as men and women, we have, how do I say this? We have our, when we can fully express ourselves as a masculine man and a feminine woman,
Mm,
especially when you put two things together, there is no outer force that can enter something created by a fully expressed masculine man and a masculine woman.
mm,
And I think kind of like peeling a layer into society today, I feel like there's a lot of malevolent powers that recognize that there's strength in family. And so that they have, for the last few years, kind of poisoned the well a little bit and have diminished families or like kind of destroyed families without destroying families. They've influenced us to think otherwise. And it's
mm,
rare. It's rare being able to fully express yourself without offending somebody. And I take great pride in being a man, bro. And that's something that I have had to earn, because I see a lot of people older than me that I would still consider boys. You know,
mm.
becoming a man, it's a rite of passage that every male should go through. You have to become a man. And that's just my own opinion based off of my own experiences. But being a man comes at a price. It's not given, it's earned. And if you can kind of flip flop that and pair that with a woman or a girl that becomes a woman through trial by fire, that's a powerful unit if you put those two things together. So I just make sure that I'm fully embodying what I believe are masculine virtues, or what makes me feel like I'm in my most masculine presence. And I think that affects people around us too, for the either for the better or for the worse.
Yeah,
Because
I definitely can see that. I mean, when you look at it, there's a lot of questioning of gender role, and not that I'm saying questioning of, well, why can't I do this because I'm this gender? You know, I think women should be able to do whatever they put their hearts to, just like men. But I think when it comes to the principles, it's like, you know, changing the principles of what it means to be a man or a woman, meaning like, you know, I'm gonna be more. I don't know how to describe it. I get what you're putting down. I get what you're putting down, and I see where you're coming from with it. I just like what do you mean, like, like masculine virtues, like what are you talking? Like defending the family and providing for the family and stoicism. Is that where you're kind of on that wave?
I feel like those are incorporated.
Okay.
When I think about what it means to be a man, I think it is being able to go into conflict regardless of the outcome, being able to, and I like medieval times. I grew up playing things like Skyrim. I love
Yes.
games. Bro, I can nerd out. Not gonna lie. I might have muscles, but I'm also kind of a nerd. Shout out Henry Cavill, whatever. Guy's a legend. Regardless, I think that being a man is being able to leave the village, go out into the unknown world with nothing but a sword and a shield, bro, and facing a dragon, slaying the dragon, acquiring some sort of loot, some reward, going back to the village and being able to share that with people. And so
Oh,
I
then
think
I
there's a
couldn't
lot.
agree more.
Yeah, bro. And so I feel like that takes a certain amount of masculinity, bro, is being able to step outside of your own comfort zone and challenge yourself, but also do it in a way that doesn't oppress other people. A good man isn't going to try to control people. A good man is just going to make sure he's in control of himself, and that's going to radiate to other people. And so I
See
know,
that
unfortunately,
that is
what do you
so
got, bro?
much. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I know you see a lot of bringing up social media again. You see a lot of the toxic masculinity,
Mm,
I hate to say it, but the whole fuck bitches get money kind of mindset. Yeah, that's cool and all, bro, but you, how long are you going to do that for? How sustainable is that for your life and for your happiness? You know?
you said exactly what I was gonna say. That's why I was like, "Now you finish," because that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like the toxic masculinity. I guess what I wanted to say before was like, you know, positive masculinity where it's like being in control of the self, exploring, creating, building new shit, uplifting others, liberating others. Like that's the masculinity that needs to be going for, not telling, you know, women, "Oh, you can't do that cuz you're a girl," or not hugging your son or teaching, that it's okay to be sad and cry about shit. Like it's cool. Like you can be a human being. I feel like a lot of the toxic masculine, like I was gonna bring up the Andrew Tates of the world, where
Hmm.
sometimes, listen, man, sometimes he has some good stuff to say. I ain't gonna hold you. Like the man has some good points, but and I know this is gonna sound like a silly comparison, but I think it's funny. You know, yeah, Andrew Tate's got some good points, and you know what? Hitler was the first vegan. He had some good points too, but that doesn't mean we get to whitewash Hitler, and we can't whitewash Andrew Tate. I genuinely think that I agree with you too, like the fuck bitches get money mindset's crazy. Um, the double standards that men are trying to impose on women because women impose them on us, where it's like, oh, she's a hoe if she sleeps with like 30, 40 people, but I'm just being a man if I have sex with 40, 50 women. You know, I
That's a
think
good point,
that
bro.
that mindset's crazy to me. Because thinking like, "Oh, she's ran through." Well, so are you. Yeah, but like I'm the man. I don't have as much emotional connection. Women have more emotional connection, so that means she's not faithful. I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking?" Like that's not even true at all. If anything, men are just as emotional, if not more emotional than women. Um
Mm.
I that type of mindset is what really, and this is the thing too when it comes to talking about gender roles and depression and all that, is that there's the 2 big camps. It's the toxic masculinity camp and the toxic femininity camp, where
Mm.
the toxic men are what you described and we described, but the toxic women are, yeah, like, men are useless. You're useless if you're under 6 foot whatever. You need to produce XYZ. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need you. It's a red flag if you have a person that, like, if you're like outside of like the prescribed like big 4 male personalities. um, and this is, I guess projection a little bit of like what I've dealt with in the dating world. Um, but if you're like an atypical dude, you're gonna need an atypical female. Like it's just like how it is a lot of the time, and a lot of the toxic femininity comes from like OnlyFans girls as well. Like you've seen it where it's like, yeah, like this is body positivity. It's no, you're selling yourself on the internet for the price of a cheeseburger. And I think the OnlyFans girl concept that comes into toxic femininity where it's like you're trying to become a porn star and everyone's trying to become a porn star and it's much harder to there's like at least like a 1 in 6 chance of running into an OnlyFans girl on a dating app or in real life or it's very common and I feel that that's very damaging to femininity. And now I can't really accurately speak on it because I'm not a woman. I'm not in the realm of womanhood. But
Hmm.
I feel that exposing yourself in such a manner is devastating to your gender and to yourself. I mean, even for me, like I hooked up with a lot of people in college, even after college. And lately I just feel like shit afterwards. It's just kind of like what was the point of that? You know, like it's very impersonal, anti, you know, human, I feel, with
Oh,
the
bro,
aimless hookups.
you know, you had me thinking earlier, and you brought me back to this thought with the whole aimless hookup and the hookup culture that we live in.
Mm,
You know, underneath everything, there is there is an essence to us. I feel like as people,
mm,
we are spirit beings. You know, the old saying is, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So, sex, dude, is one of the most sacred things physically one person can do with another person.
mm,
It is a real exchange of energy, and there's so much more that goes on beyond the flesh, or I'll say underneath the flesh, when two people have sex. And so, the hookup culture, man, you see a lot of dogs out there, man, just running through people and people being ran through, whatever, however you want to put it. But there's like such a disconnect with themselves, like soul ties and these spiritual contracts that people are signing with one another. With I think there's a lot of, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a nut, but I really there's a lot of, it's kind of demonic, bro. There's like some
evil shit.
real evil shit going on, bro. And I learned that a little bit ago. I mean, a while ago. I mean, a little bit in relative terms. It's not good to kind of spread yourself thin between multiple people, one who you don't care about and people who don't care about you. And I think waiting till marriage is something beautiful. Honestly, I don't see myself doing that. But regardless, bro, it's if you can find a person who you can build trust with and build love with and are loyal to one another, and you can share that bond physically, that has so many beautiful things that come with it. And if you're just, hooking up with chicks you meet at the bar and all that, dude, like you're gonna feel like shit because you're downloading all their shitty files, you know,
Mm.
speaking. So I feel like love and trust and intention combined with sex, dude, is the way to really experience how good of it's a sacred dance, dude, and it's spiritual. And you see a lot of, the ancients talk about sex magic. Sexual energy is what created the universe. That creation energy, that's what we are, that's what we express. And if we're using that with ill intention, we're not going to have good products created. We're not going to create anything good.
That's damn. Wow, that's I'm kind of speechless. I ain't gonna hold you, but it's true. And I think we have such a problem too where sex becomes appealing because it's so I think the intimacy, I think there's a
Mm,
lack of intimacy with our generation as well. We're not very sexually active generation and we're not dating. So it's
mm,
very I think when people do hook up, they just don't want to stop because if they stop, they're afraid they won't get any intimacy, but it's not real intimacy. It's just sex.
mm. Where people have a fear of rejection.
Yeah, honestly, I mean that was a fear of mine for like a while. Like if I stop hooking up, no one's gonna want to, you know, like maybe I'll never hook up with anyone again. And being a younger person, thinking that at the time, obviously, it's incorrect. Um, but it's not that I actively like I don't actively look for it anymore. I used to actively look for it.
Mhm.
Um, and I think at this point I realized like as an older, almost 25, I'm like, all right, like, you know, having someone to build trust with and share experiences with is just like so much cooler
Oh yeah,
because after a while too, like, I mean, how many times are you gonna have like it's sex? And you know what? I found recently too, like not recently, but really looking back, like my senior year, like there were just some girls that I was hooking up with, and I'm like, damn, like I want to be with them. They didn't want to be with me because they were on the hookup wave. And
yeah,
I started having the problem where it's like, man, I'm really starting to catch feelings for the girls I'm having sex with. And then I was like, I really need to be in a relationship. But then it's also finding quality people, and that's a whole other discussion. And it's a very it's a weird process to go through, especially realizing it and as you change. I mean, for me, like I was on a different wavelength. I wasn't mature enough to even be in a relationship for most of college. It wasn't until like I started realizing during COVID, like, wow, I'm unhealthy. Wow, I need to stop smoking. It's a respiratory pandemic and I can't stop smoking. And where I had like that solitude, I was
mm,
like, whoa, I'm actually fucking up right now, like big time. And I just realized I was like, I have to make changes to my habits. And when I stopped smoking, I realized how messy my apartment was. I was like, oh my God, I've been living in like filth. Like it was like a
man,
veil. It was like a veil lifted from my head. Like I was like embarrassed about how disgusting my life was. I mean, it was just like, look at how I'm living. And college kids live like that, of course, but it's like I just felt like I wasn't a college kid anymore. I was just like a guy living in a college town taking college classes, but it was during COVID. So it was like I was just a guy at that point. And
yeah, I
I'm
hear
like,
that.
so it wasn't like excusable to be messy anymore. And I was just like, oh my God, like, look what I'm doing. Like, this is like my house is a mess. I'm a
Do you
mess. What's up?
or you brought me to a question, bro. Do you
Mhm.
think just thinking about the world and how people's lives are? Do you think that your environment was a product of your inner world?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. 150%. It was definitely like shaped by, how I was perceiving the world, my own struggles and such. And I ultimately needed to change environments. My house was also viciously haunted,
Nice.
and I'm not blaming the ghost for all my problems, but it definitely had a depressing aura to it. And then I moved back home and I just started a new life. So I got to be healthier because I was like, all right, this is my really like one of the last chances I have to restart. You know, when you go to high school from middle school, you get a restart. When you go from high
Mhm.
school to college, you get a restart. And I was like, all right, I wasn't mature enough to see those two opportunities. Now I understand that I have a great opportunity to restart my entire life and be a totally different person. And I was like, all right, let's just fucking do it. And I did it. Um, so
Yo,
yes.
oh, go ahead. No, no, go ahead, bro. You're on a roll.
Nah, so like I was just like, man, I need to be like a different person. And then I found the gym, and that was like a big reason why I was able to be different and a better person because I was able to for the first time in my life, like I felt good about how I looked. Like I actually liked what I became. Like I looked healthy. I had color to my face. Like I used to have a gray face or like really bare, I didn't look good. Um I learned not learned, but it was like the day I was able to wear a tank top. I never wore tank tops because I didn't have the body for it. And then it's like when I wore a tank top that like fit and it looked good, I was like, man, like this is like I've always wanted this. You know what I mean? Like I actually am like I was so proud of myself that I worked that hard to finally feel like a man. Like, I felt like a man, and I felt like I could defend myself. You know what I mean? Because my whole life, I was like, "Damn, if I get into a fight, I'm fucked. Like, I'm so tiny. I don't even know how to fight." and that all changed. All changed. And it's like being big is not fighting, of course. Like I actually, it's just more like I know I have the strength. So like I was at a pool party, I don't know, like 2 summers ago or a summer ago, and this kid I went to high school with tried throwing me into the pool. And he like tried to go for my legs. He was a taller dude, but skinny, trying to like push me and all that. I just planted myself and like the guy wasn't able to push me. Because I was like able to plant myself and I had strength to just kind of be like, nah, you're not fucking throwing me in no damn pool. And if I was like not going to the gym, I would have been thrown in that goddamn pool. Because that's happened before. So it's like, wow, I can actually like prevent someone from picking me up by just planting myself and pushing back. Like that was such a cool feeling because even though the guy was kind of like horsing around with me, I was able to be like have control over the situation and be like, nah, I'm not going in the damn pool, bro. Like, stop drinking, you know, like that was really cool. And I know it sounds silly, and some people are gonna be like, what the fuck? But it's like like y'all don't understand like how tiny I was. Like I was so fucking tiny that like you could have just picked me up with one arm and threw me. Like that's how light I was.
Yo, the good thing is, bro, is now that you have experienced these changes and now that you're kind of stepping into these roles more, bro, is that you owe yourself a responsibility to continue on this path.
Yeah.
Now that you know kind of what it took to get there, in my mind, I'm thinking the last thing that you're gonna do is kind of pump the brakes and kind of abandon shit.
No, that's never gonna happen. Like I get agitated when I don't go to the gym and I'm just on like such a different path
Dude, I
with
hear that.
everything. Like it's just like a different world and it also comes with the maturity thing too. I think like, you know, when you look at a 20-year-old versus like a 25 or a 26-year-old, I mean, it's leaps and bounds different. It's just like you're talking to two different you might as well be babysitting. Like if you put a 20-year-old and a 26-year-old in the room, like the 26-year-old might as well be babysitting the 20-year-old. Like it's leaps and bounds different. Yes, you're an adult at 20, but you're a fucking idiot. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I'm even an idiot now. I'm just very cognizant of it. And it's like, sometimes I let, not the anger, but like just like sometimes it's like my patience needs to be in check. Like I need to be more patient with things. And that's just more of being like young and being like go 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 go. But comparing that to like at least my experience as like a 20-year-old, I mean like shit, man. Like I was like if you met me in college before COVID, and I know it was very brief, but it's like that person is like gone. Like that's like not even remotely what I'm about anymore. So I
Mm,
think it's very difficult. Like I think people fall back on shit. The real test of falling back on like your bad habits is in times of trauma, in times of distress, and in times of severe weakness. You're going to get tested throughout your life. And I think it's when you're presented with these tests and challenges that your real colors are going to show and whether or not
mm.
you really changed. And one of the biggest aspects of that change is time and progress from like your lowest point to your best point. And the more time you have from your shittiest point and the more you've learned and developed, I feel like the harder it is to fall back into a bad habit.
I agree, bro. Yo, and you said something earlier about kind of starting again, starting over. And I heard something recently talking about, you know, try something, you fail. But when you try again, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. And I feel like that's
Hmm.
something we can't undermine ourselves and be like, yo, man, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, you do know what you're doing. Now you just know what not to do, know how to do it differently.
There was a great example of a guy. I think he had COVID. Yeah, I think he got COVID. And this was when it first happened. And he lost all of his gains. And
Oh
he had
no.
to start from scratch. He was like, I don't know, like maybe 5'8", 2 something, and up being like 130 bones. And then he rebuilt it. He rebuilt it within 2 years. He got all of his strength back. And but he started from a point of like if you were to say that happened to either one of us, it would be horrible. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I would cry every day. I'd
Yeah.
feel like shit, but I know how to rebuild with proper diet. Now I know the proper diet, the proper exercises, everything. So it's, within a year, 2 years, you'd have it back, as opposed to spending a year, 2 years trying to figure it out and learning again. At least you have it. Like, even with riding a bike, it's like you're gonna be a little shaky at first, but then you ride the bike a little bit. All right, I got it back. I haven't ridden a bike. First time I rode a bike in a year was last month. You know, and I just picked it up fine. Same thing with skateboarding. It's a skill you're always gonna have. You're just gonna have to work at it to get it back to how it used to be. But you know,
Now,
it,
bro. Yeah, I
what?
was I was through backpacking America, bro, and I saw you had a woman who did something with a skate park.
Yeah, yeah. The
What was that all
Rena.
about? That
Oh
caught
yeah,
my
she
attention.
she her name is Rena Wilhelm, and she is trying to. She's not even a skater, and trying to like get funding for this skate park out in Greenport, Long Island, because it's in complete disrepair. And she was motivated because a couple of years ago, this 11-year-old boy asked his mom to like post on Facebook asking for donations and help rebuilding the park because it was in dangerous disrepair. So
Mm,
that was all about what she's doing to rebuild the park and what she's doing to help the local community. Really cool episode. It's 242, I believe. Definitely check that one out. And they have like a whole summer concert series. And if you look up Greenport Skate Park on Instagram, she runs a nice account highlighting all the cultural aspects of the park. And you can get in contact with her and learn more about their summer series concerts and events coming up.
nice, man. It was
Yeah.
interesting how much skate culture has changed in the last 20 years.
Oh my God, dude, tell me about it. I mean, it's like, it's a different beast. It used to be big record setting tricks and big jumps and big spins and big everything, to now it's like super techy, super technical, like tiny little shit, mani pads, little staircases, multiple sets of tricks on one obstacle. Very, very technically oriented and
Mm.
skill-based street skating. It's definitely I don't know why it changed in that capacity, but it's definitely changed.
Yo, bro, what are your thoughts on? I hate to say the downfall, but we'll say the arc of Bam Margera, bro.
All I'm gonna say is that, like I said, when trials and tribulations happen, your true colors show. And
Mm.
unfortunately, there hasn't been enough time, distance, or learning done on his part to put him past old him and rebirth a new person in the works.
Yeah, that one was sad to see, man.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was really rooting for him too. He's been in and out of rehab his whole
Oh,
life,
I,
but
I know, like within the last few months, he was doing better, and I
he
think
was. He relapsed. Yeah, he relapsed because he was having, I forgot what it was. Something happened to him. But it just kind of shows you, like, you need time and distance and constant, like, you need to constantly be moving forward, you know,
okay.
constantly be working to move forward to get better. But I want to, plug some of your pages and your website and stuff where people can find you and learn from you, because we've been like at this for almost 2 hours.
I've been having fun, bro.
Me too, man.
So I'm on Instagram. You can find me at conscious.fitness at conscious.fitness. My profile picture is just me with pretty sure I'm doing some cable flies. I got that. There was a local photographer here in Buford that reached out to me,
Oh, wow.
and I'm friends with his roommate. And he reached
Really?
out to me and he was like, "Hey man, I'm trying to build my portfolio. You want to do a photo shoot?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude!" So he came in. He had this professional setup. We had this awesome time just filming all these cool ass pictures. But that's where you can find me on Instagram is at conscious.fitness, conscious with a K. I'm actually making a website currently. I've recently stepped foot into the online training game, so I'm trying to build more clientele outside of the gym. Reason being, there's only so many hours in a day. I can only do so much in person. And in the world we live in, bro, if you can't make money off of your phone, you should probably look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what am I doing wrong here?
What am I doing wrong? Yeah. I
Dude,
couldn't
and
agree
that's
more.
and as a business person, bro, this is the key, or we'll say the route to financial freedom. You know, I'm not doing this just because I love it. I do love it, but I'm also doing this to not only live a life that I want to live, but I'm trying to build something that is going to sustain itself eventually. And if I have to, you say in the South, eat crow for a little bit, if I have to eat shit for a little bit, I'm gonna do that. But I just know I'm building something much bigger than myself, and I'm not at the mercy of some 9 to 5 boss who doesn't care about me and who I don't care about. So
That's
Conscious
awesome.
Fitness on Instagram. I have in my bio a link, a Calendly link. So I'm offering free consultations for a half hour. So you can choose a date, choose a time. I'm available every day, every hour from 9 to 9. And even, special requests. I can meet you at a 8:30, maybe a 7 o'clock if you're an early bird. Early bird catches a worm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, I'm just trying to expand my business, and I don't have any business mentors, and so a lot of this is trial and error. I'm just doing what I think works, what I'm seeing produces results. And if I can make a couple bucks in the process of doing that, man, I'm going to continue to grind away at this because, this isn't for everybody, bro. Just like going to the gym, it's not for everybody. It's extremely difficult. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to fall on your ass a couple times. That doesn't mean you give up. And so I'm trying to build this into something big, but brick by brick, bro. I like to say Rome wasn't built in a day.
I mean, I couldn't. Listen, man. I feel you on that, and from what I could tell, you're gonna go far with this. I
I,
want to thank you for coming on the show, and I had a great. This was a great discussion. So thank you for coming on, giving a little bit of your perspective on this.
I
Um,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, no, anytime. To our listeners, thank you for listening to episode 243 of Backpacking America. I will see you all tomorrow at 6 p.m. That will be our new recording time, unless otherwise announced. So 6 p.m. will be the new recording time. And thank you again, Ben, for coming on here. Make sure